Ever wish a podcast would explain how to get better faster from the standpoint of longevity, biohacking, and personalized functional medicine? Co-hosts Dr. Jason Bradley and James Chester, along with executive producer Rachel Bradley, bring you the Get Better Faster podcast. Their mission is radically simple: to revolutionize health by connecting people with the experts, technologies, and protocols that mainstream medicine ignores. Because people deserve to get better faster.
All right. Hello, I am Dr. Jason Bradley, and along with my co-host, James Chester, we want to welcome you to another exciting edition of the Get Better Faster podcast. Today, we are joined by Dr. Stephanie Rimka, a holistic doctor, educator, and speaker specializing in trauma recovery and brain optimization. From surviving a difficult childhood in Detroit to becoming a nationally recognized leader in mind-body healing, Dr. Rimka's work blends cutting-edge science with deep spiritual wisdom. Her expertise spans chiropractic, neurofeedback, therapy, trauma release, functional genomics, and holistic health. Over the past 2 decades, she's guided thousands in reclaiming their health, purpose, and personal power. Get ready to have your minds blown about what's really possible with brain health and trauma recovery when we address the root causes. As Dr. Rimka says, I believe your body is telling a story, and I'm here to finally help you listen. Dr. Rimka, welcome to the show.
I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be on a new show and like one of the beginning people. I feel like a pioneer. Fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah. You are a pioneer, and thank you for being on the show. I think that this is officially our 4th episode. And so we're just thrilled to have you here today.
Awesome.
As I jump in a little bit here, like getting to know you over the past couple of years, Dr. Stephanie, or Dr. Rimka, sorry, I've seen you scale into spaces, and I know that there's going to be so many opportunities to share your story with people and your love and your wisdom with our audience, to let them know how they can do that for themselves also as a solopreneur, as a healthcare provider in the entrepreneur space, but also really focusing on your soul genius, which is helping people with these entrenched mental conditions and helping put the pieces back together and find that missing puzzle piece inside of each one of these people and saying, hey, if we just had that last piece of the jigsaw puzzle, this is what it looks like. And I think that that's really cool. I've seen your work evolve, and now we get a chance to host you on the Get Better Faster show and talk to the world about how you're doing this. So thank you for being with us.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. It's an honor.
It's fantastic. So if it's okay, I would like to just jump in a little bit. First of all, you started your career as a doctor of chiropractic, and I was reading a little bit about your bio, and you said something really interesting to me. You said that you received, quote, and you called it the big idea, when you were working with schizophrenics and drug addicts. And that's just not a typical chiropractic calling. It's not a typical path that people follow. Can you tell us a little bit about what led you to that, and really what was your epiphany when you knew, aha, I sorted something out, my passion and my calling to do this thing to really help people get better faster? Dr. Rimka, tell us your story.
Yeah. I really started my career in a mental hospital with schizophrenics before I became a chiropractor. Mm-hmm. So in school, I always thought I was going to be a doctor. And to me, that meant a real doctor. That was a white-coated, most likely a surgeon, and orthopedic surgery. That was kind of the strong calling. So because I was a jock, because I was playing sports and I was very physical. And so in college, undergrad, I went to a small liberal arts school, the best biology department in the state of Michigan, known as the doctor school. Everybody was basically pre-med. That's what we cranked out. More than half the physicians in Michigan went to my undergrad. So that's what we were focused on. That was the whole campus was pretty much a bio major, and we were pre-med. So I was what other schools would have called a triple major. And I kept taking, so I had a pre-med concentration biology major, Spanish major as well. And I just kept taking all these psychology courses to the point where if I'd been at a university, they go, you would have had a minor in psychology because I was 2 courses away from being a psychology major as well. I'm like, really? But I just liked it. So I just kept taking them. And eventually my teachers, my mentors, again, at a very small school, I was able to have dinner at their houses. I was being at the bar, having drinks with them Wednesday nights. You sat with professors and would talk philosophy for hours. It was an incredible experience. That's what I was able to do. So my psychology professor would really push hard for me to go into child psychiatry. He was like, Stephanie, this is what you should do. You have a passion for it. You're into it. I was a special needs, Special Olympic soccer coach for 4 years. I was a T-ball. So I was coaching, and I was also teaching Spanish in the grade schools there. So he's like, you love children. Like, why do you keep saying you don't? Like, and they're being born addicted to crack, heroin, like these children need drugs. He's like, so he was a psychologist, but he was like and he worked in the prison system. He worked in the Jackson State Prison. So I had a lot of interest in that because my father was in prison at the time. So I was visiting my father in prison. People didn't really know that. So I would borrow my roommate's car, go visit my dad in prison on the weekends, and did a field trip to the Jackson. I said, listen, I'm going to tap out on this because I don't really want to tour the prison because I've been doing this my whole life. Are we good with that? He's like, you get a pass. I'm like, thanks. Because I don't need these other kids seeing my reaction. And I certainly don't need my dad. Like, I can't handle this. So I had a very unique kind of way of being, and he knew that. And so he was really pushing child psychiatry, where my biology professors were really pushing orthopedic surgery. You know, I'm almost 6 feet tall. I'm very strong. And they're like, listen, not many women can do orthopedic surgery. You have to be physically strong and adept to move the table. There's drills and hammers. It's a hard, heavy, it's construction basically in a surgical room. And both of those teams were like, you're going to make so much money because there's hardly any women doing this. You're going to make so much money. You're going to, so they were really cheerleading me to do either one of these. And I was interested in both. Well, I did have a situation in college, and that's a long story, but it's all going to make sense here. I'm a woman. I speak very circular, just so you know. I broke my back in college at a soccer game. So I broke L5, herniated L5S1, and that put me in paralysis traction. I lost the use of my right leg. It was completely numb, couldn't feel it, move it. It was very, very scary. Surgeons told me, you are never running again. You will never play sports again. And if you're not lucky, you're not walking. I was like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. So thank God I had so much defiant FU in my system as a 19-year-old. And I just looked at my mom, was like, get me out of here and you get me to Keith. And Keith was my chiropractor. And he'd been adjusting me since I was 16. And I hurt my back in a soccer game, but it wasn't like super severe. This was bad. This was can't walk, can't run, can't move, and severe pain. So I was in traction for 2.5 months and things were just getting worse and worse. So finally I was like, take me to Keith. And Keith, through chiropractic, got me back. And I did play soccer again competitively. I did play basketball. I came back, and not only did I run, I dominated on the field. And that's all through chiropractic. And yet I still didn't want to be a chiropractor. Okay. I wanted to be a real doctor. So, but through that experience, watching like how bad they were, I was like, I had kind of an existential crisis at 20 years old as a junior going, I don't know if I really want to go to medical school. Like, I don't really know that I want to be a doctor because they're morons. And every time I go to them, they don't know what they're doing. They didn't catch that I had a thyroid disorder. I was sick. They didn't catch I had this. They didn't know how to fix my back. Why do I want to do this? And so, I went to the president of the college and said, I think I want to give up my scholarship and leave. I was crying. I was very, like, I said to him, I cannot become this just because of the money. Like, I was this poor kid on food stamps and welfare who had a full scholarship. I could only go to a school and I had about 50 free rides at that point that I could have taken, but I had to go where it was free. I couldn't go to the Ivy League school because I didn't get a full ride, So people didn't know how poor I really was. It was like, I can't afford books, it's hard. So if they weren't feeding me with the full ride meal plan, I didn't know how the food was going to be happening, just to give you an idea. So, but I was like, I don't want to be a doctor for money. I wanted to help people. I wanted to open what was said I was my high school class president and all of that. And what was said in the quote about what I said was, I wanted to open free clinics for the homeless in America and in India. Like, that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to have so much money. I never had to charge anybody for healthcare because I understood the shame of what it was like to go to clinics and to have my mother ask for, the samples because we couldn't go to the pharmacy and get the antibiotic. You understand? So I watched all that, and I wanted to never make a person feel the way we felt, right? So that's why I wanted to be a doctor. And then I was very disillusioned after getting the worst care all the time. I'm like, they suck at this. So I took the year off to decide what I was going to do, to see if, I was like, I don't want to become a doctor for my ego. I don't want to become a doctor because I'm just fearing poverty. So I took that year off, and my friend's dad was a surgeon, and he got me in 32 surgeries with him to assist, to see what that was like. And I took a job working in a mental hospital, helping get schizophrenics group homes. So I was able to see what this was like. Okay. I actually took a full-time job as a systems analyst, working in the computer field, because he was paying me $150,000 plus a car allowance. I'm like, listen, I'll take that money, and then I'll do this other side job. So I worked these two full-time jobs because I needed to know that. Plus I was in surgeries and being taken to see things that they never should have allowed me to do. Luckily I had, some really rich dad doctor friends, you know what I mean? So in that process is when I was getting adjusted by Keith. And I said to him, because I hurt my back again playing basketball. And I finally was like, listen, I need you to explain this to me, because I've been coming to you for 7 years, since I was 16. And I know you've been telling me he was saying all the things: innate intelligence, universal intelligence, power that made the body, heals the body. Don't take Tylenol, Stephanie. Stop drinking this. Don't. And I'm like, Keith, just throw it. I know I got a game. Just pop it back in though. I got to go. And then the next day I'd come in, he's like, can you stop using me? I'm like, listen, I got to go to a party. So can you just get it done? And he accommodated my small thinking through all those years. And he never quit teaching me. He never quit saying the same message. He never quit doing it. He never withheld, his attention and love and the power. And even though I would symptom chase with him, he stayed very firm. So in that moment, that night, I said, listen, I needed to explain something to me. Listen, I feel great. There's no pain. At this point, I had to drive an hour to go see him. It was very far. Something I needed to explain. Why do I feel emotionally so much better when I'm getting adjusted when I don't? Because now that I'm looking back at all of this, over this whole time I've been doing this with you, I come for 3 months, I stop for 6 months, I come for 2 months, I stop for 4 months. This back and forth. I get it. I'm sorry. I should be doing maintenance and getting checks, but whatever. I'm looking back now. When I get adjusted, I'm happier. I'm more regulated. I sleep better. Everything just feels better. When I stop, I dip into these depressions. I dip into darkness. I see the world very differently. Everything's rainbow and unicorns again. And I go, it cannot be just because of pain. Can you explain this to me? And that's when all hell broke loose in his office. Keith saw 500 people a week, adjustments. He had a line full of people. He's the kind of doc you would spend 5 minutes with him and it felt like 50 minutes. It really didn't feel like it was in and out, but it was, which I liked at that time. He then brought the pen out and the whiteboard, and he just went to town. It was all this stuff. And he just finally, maybe it was the same message, and I just was ready to hear it. And his wife even came in. She was the office manager. Keith, you got a line of people. He goes, and I'll never forget it, because he said, they can wait. This is too important. This is the moment. He goes, she gets it. And I was like, yeah. And he just explained it, how the information is coming in. And then if it is jumbled up, it doesn't go out. So they're getting the information wrong. Then they're computing it wrong. So then the output is wrong. And I just stopped and they said, oh my God, the schizophrenics need to be adjusted. And he goes, yes. And I go, where do I go? He goes, Atlanta. Great. I moved 6 months later and I've never looked back.
That's awesome.
So it really was one of the most stunning moments of my life. And I'm like, God, I think he probably said that to me 100 times. He probably said it. And I didn't get it. But time stood still and he really went through it all. And I asked the questions and he just kept going. And I'll say this, and he said this, I know chiropractors are going to hear it. He goes, Stephanie, I want you to be clear. And he's known me since I was 5 years old. He said, listen, I can't quite say I changed your diapers, but he's known me forever. His sister's my best friend. And I said, he goes, I can't say I know you since diapers, but I feel like I'm sort of big brother father to you. I'm like, okay. He goes, I want you to be happy, and I want you to be the best at whatever it is you want to be. If you want to be a surgeon, I'll support you 100% because you're going to have a chiropractic minded, you'll be that kind of a surgeon, and you need to go be that. And I hope you'll remember to tell them to get it, but if you're going to be a chiropractor, you better be ready, and you better know what you're signing up for, because you will never be respected. You will always be a salmon swimming upstream, and they will never like what you have to say. If you're ready to take that on, then I want you to go out there and do it and be the best you can be, because we need people like you. We need chiropractors like this that are going to be loud, but they're not going to like you now. So if you need respect, you be clear, then you go be a surgeon, because that's the only way you're going to get it. And I really appreciated that moment. And I had to say, well, Keith, I never had a problem saying, speaking up against it. So I guess I'm ready to be a salmon. He goes, all right. And so that was just it, and I had to give up that ego moment of, I did want respect. I did want to bring that to my family. And I had to say, it's, sorry, but it was a lot.
It's a huge decision, and I think what I'm here, first of all, thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable. And I'm reminded by so much, thank you for sharing all. There's so much to unpack there. So I'm going to do my best. I think the biggest thing is, Keith, thank you. First of all, you changed Stephanie's life, and now she's changed thousands of people's lives. So it's that ripple effect, which is just amazing. And it reminds me of, I don't know if this quote is exactly from Albert Einstein, but they always say, you never know about the seeds that you plant today, they'll grow into a forest tomorrow. And I see that Keith was planting those seeds and watering those seeds and planting those seeds. And it's that consistent message. But the big take home from this is, Keith, I know we talked about real doctors, and then the kind of alluding to there's not real, other doctors are not real doctors, right? Yeah. But I want to say this, and I know that we all know this on this call, and I know we've all heard it, some of you guys listening to it, but doctor comes from the Latin root docere, which means one who teaches. And Keith was teaching, and Keith poured into you as an educator, and, I don't want to say created you. You're your own person, but fed into you and helped you grow into the person that you are. And really, when I look at you and when I listen to you, and I know the stories that you can tell and the outcomes that you get, you're an educator, you're a teacher, you're a doctor, you're docere. And I think it's just such a beautiful gift to just keep passing on. Because the reality is, yes, salmon swimming upstream and fighting the power that, has control over us, all of us, seemingly. The reality is the truth will set us free, and we need truth speakers, and you're one of them. And I'm glad that Keith just kept planting those seeds. I think that's beautiful.
I've told, James, I'm like, listen, you got to interview Keith. I don't even know. He knows the number. It's like 50 or 100 chiropractors have come out of his office or something.
That's awesome.
It's an insane amount. He's a hell of a doctor, a hell of a teacher. So, and he's kept that story going for decades.
It's hard to see over on my side because I wear these blue blockers. I know I have a question later into the interview about.
So you're frozen for me, James. I can't see you at all, so it's okay.
well, I'm here with you, and I just took off my glasses that I wear on the interviews, the blue blocker glasses, and your story brought tears to me, honestly, because we're gonna interview John DeMartini today, and that man told me I had to give myself permission to be great. No one else is going to do that for me, and that was a mind-changing alteration to the course of where I'm at today. So to know that I can bring titans like yourself onto the show with Dr. Jason and talk to people about real life and how we can help more people together, it's so damn inspiring. And just to let you know the purpose of why Jason and I decided to create this new podcast, Get Better Faster, is because we wanted to weave in with these other people that were getting people better faster in different facets of the healing arts, whether it be the medical world, whether it be physical medicine, whatever, chemical medicine, whatever it might be. Yeah. We want to talk to people and weave in this chiropractic philosophy that they wouldn't get if they were hosted on a show like Joe Rogan, or if they're hosted on a Huberman show or any other doctor-based show. So I said, Jason, just promise me that we'll always keep the baseline of science, philosophy, and art of chiropractic. And every guest that we ever have on here is going to walk away with a big idea and that missing piece in their puzzle about what chiropractic philosophy means and how it has an impact on humanity. And Jason said, hey, I'll agree to that. And him being a chiropractor, he loves philosophy, but these people that we're going to host on this show have zero iota, not one chance of a knowledge skill of what chiropractic philosophy really is and why it matters. So when Keith was pouring into you and giving you that permission to find your pathways, it really made a compound effect. And now you get the chance to be the doctor of the present. As the Edison quote would say, the doctor of the future will interest his patients into the care of the human frame and in the diet and the care of the body through nutrition. That's a paraphrase, but he said the doctor of the future. Well, we're in the future. Like, this is 2025. This is the future, baby. And the doctor of the future is the chiropractor. And I've said this loud and clear for a long time. But now, because we have this new vehicle of excellence with Get Better Faster, people are going to understand that chiropractic is a benchmark for the future and the present.
Absolutely, James. Thank you for sharing that too. And I just want to quickly share, just to kind of double down on what Dr. Rimka said. My first doctorate degree was in chiropractic and then naturopathy and then a health sciences degree. And it's interesting, having studied all that stuff from a lot of different angles, it's the chiropractic philosophy that's different. I mean, it really is the innate intelligence, the universal, all of the stuff that Dr. Rimka just kind of rattled off to us. It's so important. And I found that when I was going through other programs and when I interact with other types of doctors that are brilliant people too, but they don't have that same philosophical perspective, they still become, in my humble opinion, sometimes very mechanistic and, treating, for people that are listening, I'm about to say that might not know what I mean. Dr. Rimka is going to understand and James going to understand. Some of these doctors, even though they're brilliant geniuses, are still treating a diagnosis, and I mean that out of love. We're so much bigger than a diagnosis and we're so much more complex than that. It doesn't fit into a box. That all said, Dr. Stephanie, Dr. Rimka, I want to jump right back in. You mentioned earlier working with some children, and I know that we've all seen the mental health crisis exploding, especially in children. I think that we can argue. What are you seeing as the real root causes that mainstream psychiatry is missing? That's a big one, right?
Yeah. Where do we start with that?
Right?
They miss everything. They're morons. Right. I would have to say, when I criticize, so for those who maybe are not chiropractors, let me be clear. Chiropractic philosophy is, to me, it comes down to vitalism. I think, Arnaud Bernier said it the best, and I studied under him for a long time, was in his masterpiece camp and did mission trips with him and stuff like that. Vitalism versus mechanism is what it really comes down to. It's like looking at somebody as a whole being and seeing, well beyond the structure and function and into the mind, the energetics, the spiritual sense, and knowing that there's some greater substance magic that we can't quite, quantify or scientifically analyze it, whether you want to call it spirit or soul or both, or how you want to look at whatever intelligence might be involved in the being that animates us, really. So, we aren't mechanics, and we don't take people apart and put them back together and they can just function the same way. We are not cars. Now, that's more the mechanistic way. So even though people in the holistic or functional space can turn into mechanistic thinking very quickly using certain things like nutrients, like drugs, so to speak. So I probably say psychiatrists are the most worthless group of physicians out there, followed by probably pediatricians, probably virologists and endocrinologists now, because endocrinologists have become pretty worthless. And gastroenterology is running a really big game of being completely off base and useless as well. So those would be the people that don't like me. And I talk about them a lot in not good ways, because I've seen the damage from all the patients that have come in to my office from what they've done or what they've not done is more important. So psychiatry seems to not understand the brain. And I don't understand how you can treat an organ without ever testing it or looking at it. They literally guess and just throw drugs at things. They're the only ones allowed to prescribe anything they want. Addictive, highly addictive, controlled substances they can prescribe with no testing, nothing. People don't have to take cognitive tests. They don't have to take blood. They don't have to do urine, and they don't have to do brain imaging. If any other doctor was writing thyroid hormones without a lab to show why, we would have a real big problem.
Yeah.
Like that's not allowed anywhere else. But psychiatrists have a full pass to do whatever you want. You want cocaine? Not a problem. You want opium? Not a problem. You want methamphetamine? No problem.
I used to say, give me a tincture of opium, a tincture of cocaine, or a combination thereof, and I can help anybody feel any way they want any time of day.
Right.
You know?
I was saying, but my kid is doing so much better. Who doesn't feel better on cocaine?
Right. I was in a conversation.
Cocaine. It doesn't mean I have a deficiency of cocaine.
Right. Stephanie, I was in a conversation with psychiatrists I think you'll appreciate. And he was like, oh, Dr. Bradley, functional medicine and you guys get great outcomes and this and that and blah, and nothing but good things to say. And he said, but I don't think I can refer to you because I'm not sure it's scientific. And I said, wait a minute. You listen to people subjectively say what they think is going on. And then you filter that through your subjective understanding. And then you guess at a drug that might work and hope that it works. And if it doesn't, you try something different in 1 to 3 months and see if that works. And I said, I'm just not sure the science behind that. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, I haven't thought about that before. And I was like, how have you not thought about that before?
Exactly. You know how many psychiatrists I've had that I've worked with in my practice? And I tell them, well, you want to explain to me how zinc is involved in making neurotransmitters? They have no idea.
What's zinc?
They don't know how dopamine is made. They don't know how serotonin is made. They don't understand how GABA is made. And I'm like, what? Like, I can't even, and I had the psychologist, and it's a little different, but working in my office, and she was watching what I was doing. And she popped her head in one day. She goes, I just want you to understand, I have no idea half of what you say to all these people. How did you learn all this? I go, you're a PhD. She goes, right. Yeah, we aren't taught any of that. I just kind of sit around like, how can you help somebody with a brain issue if you don't understand the brain? So my biggest problem is, to me, so brain health equals behavior. Brain problems are mental health problems. A mental health problem is a brain problem. The vast majority of brain problems, not all, you have a few exceptions based on trauma. I can't say all mental illnesses start in the gut, but because there's some concussions and some other things that can just, I can just put a 2x4 to your head and didn't have to have a gut problem, but they're almost always there. So they don't understand its brain function. You should be testing what's going on in the brain. You should be looking at what's going on in the brain with imaging. You should look at the electromagnetics. They think it's chemistry. It is not. You are an electromagnetic being of light. You must look at electricity, magnetism, and light, how the body absorbs it and how it emits it. That is what I do. That is the foundation of what is. That makes the chemicals. So why are we so obsessed with chemistry? It's because you can sell it. It's very hard to sell sunshine. It's very hard to sell, magnetism from the earth. It's very hard to sell. You could just go under a waterfall every day for an hour and all that. You get free antioxidants. They're called electrons, and you get, free light therapy. It's very hard to do that. Now, I use technology and devices and machines that bring nature back to people's system. But the most impressive, the most successful psychiatric tool in history of their own assessment is electric shock therapy. It is the most effective because you're electrical. So if you deal with people's electricity in their brain, they're going to be much better off than chemistry. The chemistry doesn't do it as much. So that's where we really deeply disagree. I'm looking at the blood-brain barrier. The serotonin in your brain is made in your brain. It doesn't come from your gut. The cholesterol in your brain comes from your brain. It doesn't come from your blood. There's a wall there, and the things are not supposed to be passing through. Now, unfortunately, we've been poisoned to death. So lead, mercury, monkey DNA, all kinds of strange things are inside your brain that never, ever, ever should have been there because we've ripped through the barrier in a number of ways with things like glyphosate and needles and injections and cupcakes. I don't know. Can we say the V word anymore? I don't even know.
I don't even know.
I get in trouble so much that I'm like, what's the euphemism for it today? Yeah.
I did a post when Facebook or Meta, said they were going to be a little bit more lenient on everybody. And I think we've all been in Facebook jail before.
I've been saying that word all the time, but I don't know. I don't want to get you in trouble.
Fully. So I actually did a post where I looked up the top 20 most controversial terms to get you banned from Meta. And I just posted them to see what would happen, and nothing happened. So I think that we're pretty safe. I think that we can hopefully have a cogent discussion and because I mean, it's scary stuff, right? I mean, earlier was it this week or late last week? I mean, I don't want to necessarily go down the vaccine, whatever, but I mean, the FDA is now saying, hey, guess what? There was myocarditis. Hey, guess what? There is all this neuroinflammation. Maybe we need a black box warning, and we're going to cut off all boosters for anybody except the most vulnerable. And I mean, there's no real reporting on this going on. I mean, it's like what's shifted. I mean, I think it's our understanding of things that you're talking about, like the blood-brain barrier or even the gut barrier. There's so much going on there. Sorry, Stephanie, I took over, but keep going.
That will be the big thing. I mean, they just, the brain only has 12 to 13 factors that you really have to look at and assess. And if you get those under control, you just have a downstream effect and everything regulates. The biggest issue is I don't believe anything is genetic. I don't believe anything is you're born to have it. Everything is reversible. And I dare say the word that we are never allowed to say, cure. And I think that's the ultimate in gaslighting. Medicine is based upon how much they can gaslight you into believing you're a powerless victim that will be broken for life and needs their bullshit.
I want to just say that too, because I want you to say that even louder. That medicine is designed to create powerless victims that are going to be, I don't know if you said this, but, customers or consumers for life. I mean, that's the reality. I can't tell you how many folks, I'm sure you too, that come to us and they're literally traumatized. I mean, they're aware of it, but they carry so much trauma from that gaslighting, just trying to communicate.
Medical trauma is real. Very real.
Trying to communicate, hey, I'm not feeling well and here's what's going on. And they're just not heard. They're not, I mean, it's just horrible. So thank you. I think that, what you said earlier was, I want to make sure to help people listen, and I want to listen with them. It's just so important.
Yeah.
The other thing that go ahead.
I'll say this, and the biggest difference too, to me, is like every sign and symptom, every symptom a person has, to me, is a positive way the soul is trying to communicate with them to say, I'm not being heard. You're not living an authentic life. You are incongruent. So please let me help you. So I'm not trying to chase symptoms as a bad thing. I'm telling them, this is beautiful. You're not listening. There's no disorder. I don't believe in autoimmune. Again, a massive gaslighting campaign that makes somebody think their body is deranged. There is no way in hell any part of my body is ever confused as to what is me and what is not. But it certainly doesn't understand a COVID spike. It doesn't understand mercury. It doesn't understand aborted fetal cells. It doesn't understand lead. It doesn't understand any of that stuff. Why is this in you? Let me help you. And again, through that, if I have to renovate a house, you don't think some other things are going to fall? That's what's happening. So they've perverted and deranged a person's immune system on purpose, intentionally, and then had the nerve to tell you now that you're sick later, it must be autoimmune. And so let me give you some more drugs to suppress your immune system even more. Right. It's the most psychotic, sociopathic way of looking at the body. So again, I'm very strong about, I bring like that this is, your body is always working in your best interest. Cancer is in your best interest. PCOS is in your best interest. Your body is saving you from what? Stop hating yourself. Stop saying my body betrayed me. Your body didn't betray you at all. You betrayed it. And it is now showing you the evidence of that. And your soul is begging you to listen. And as soon as we do that, everything unlocks and everything shifts. Because I hold that so strong, like there is nothing incurable. There is nothing that's irreversible. What are you talking about? Like, let's just do it. And because I hold that frequency so strong for the people that come to see me, I just bring them up to it. They have no choice. Like, I'm not waiting for you. I'm just going to pull you up here and get ready. It's like a DMT ride with me, so like, that's what we're doing. So the resonance of me, like, and that's why when I coach clinicians and I do CEU and stuff and try to teach them, I'm like, listen, the practitioner's stance, the level of your certainty, and Dr. Sid used to teach this all the time. Sid Williams I went to school back with him, and I was a cameraman following him around all the time, filming him for the school. And, people always think it was a little bit crazy, but he was crazy like a fox because he was always teaching that. It's like, listen, you're imprinting them constantly. My unconscious and conscious mind, I'm trying to rewrite my patient's unconscious bad scripting constantly. And we have to be doing that. We have to toe the line with them over and over and over again, because they just came from some Yahoo that told them you're going to have this for life. It's impossible. I'm like, well, impossible. Hold my beer. You want to watch what I can do?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, they told you what? That's real cute.
Well, I think just to kind of underscore the whole insanity of this, and I think that you'll relate to this too, because we, have a lot of tools up our sleeves, so to speak. And one of the tools that I use, and I'm sure you do too, is, diet structure, eat real foods. And I mean, we can get into logistics, but, eat real foods.
Yeah.
And I had a patient, our client that did extraordinarily great with her outcomes. And she went back to see her medical doctor, and who I know, and, nothing but good things to report. She'd lost a lot of weight, cardiovascular things turned around, and, high on life and the whole thing. Right. And her doctor said, these are all great outcomes, but I think you might have developed an eating disorder. And she was like, what? And she's like, yeah. She goes, you're really, obsessed with eating healthy food. And she goes, that's called orthorexia. It's a mental condition of being obsessed with eating healthy food or the right food. And so of course my client came back to tell me this. And I'm like, I love the fact that now choosing to eat healthy food is a diagnosable psychiatric condition that you either need inpatient or like outpatient treatment with, for the next 8 weeks. That's when I was like, I'm like, what happened?
Psychopathic thing.
It's psychopathic. And you tell these stories to the general, population that, that you won't believe what happened behind the scenes, and they can't believe it. They're like, no. And I'm like, oh yeah. That's what's really going on. When you go to tell your doctor you eat healthy food, they're writing things like orthorexia down. Yeah, they're not impressed.
No, it's the joke about living in clown world. I've just accepted it. I'm like, yeah, here we are, totally. So I would just stay away from the clowns.
I just want to tie back to your origin story, a couple of things that we've been discussing. My origin story is quite similar to yours. Played soccer, 22 years. Injured myself at 16 playing American football, not soccer. Went to the chiropractor. Super challenged socioeconomic background. Free lunch kid. A lot of guilt and shame around that. If it wasn't for sports, I would have been nobody. So I can feel that journey with you. And something I've heard a lot over time is people use chiropractic, and quite honestly, the rest of the medical world, like expensive Advil. They want to come in and have somebody do the thing and give them what they want in an outcome-based scenario that they think it's going to actually make them better. But it does, like you did. You went and got adjusted. You can go back and play again, and you were able to compete again. But really, if we don't hit the root cause of what's going on inside of these individuals, including ourselves, there's no long-term outcome for us except for the expensive Advil model. And we're talking about the lunacy around these healthcare providers, these professionals, these people that spend their lifetime to become the number one in their class, their lifetime to become the distinguished treating physician on whatever discipline that they choose. And what we realize is they're all captured. They're captured in a mechanistic model that overprescribes and underdelivers and cuts it out, burns it out, drugs it out. And when they go through that type of expensive Advil model, there's no fixing that course of treatment. Whereas at least with chiropractic, we're not putting anything extra in or taking anything out. We're just removing the interference, allowing the body to function as it should. So back to something BJ Palmer said. He said that if we would just adjust everybody in these insane asylums, we'd empty the asylums and everybody would live in chiropractic utopia. And I often believe, I've heard it said before, but if we were just adjust C1 and C2, that's the first two bones in someone's neck. They're called the atlas and axis. If we just adjust those two bones in people's necks that were in this type of pharmacological discipline, they would see the world with a different lens. And if we would adjust the world leaders, just C1, C2, they would see the world with a different lens. And maybe we could uncapture the diplomacy of the health model of what we've been led to believe is real healthcare, rather than, as somebody else up here, Cindy Cleveland says, our healthcare is actually sick care. So when I got adjusted at 16 and into my 30s, my doctor at that point, chiropractor, said, "Hey, why do you do this?" And I said, "I just know that when I get adjusted, I feel better." And if everybody just knew that that was the major premise of this beautiful profession of chiropractic, and if we could just possibly get to the C1 and C2 of all these people in these other medical disciplines, we could change the course of humanity by releasing their impulses of innate intelligence and universal intelligence and educated intelligence. And now we have a whole nother course of action, which we could go to all of this people that have schizophrenia and release them. It would be a mental synapse correction rather than a subluxation correction. But I believe that when we connect man or woman, the spiritual, with man or woman, the physical, we release them. And I think that that's the most beautiful thing that you guys were discussing while I was waiting to jump back in and have a bit of the conversation with you guys is there are so many people out there that just don't know that chiropractic is a solution. And if we could just check them and do an HRV with them and do an x-ray with them and do a proper intake exam with physical and orthopedic checks and see what's actually going on with them. Now, if you guys want to talk about science, that's real science, because we're actually looking at like the functionality of the human body rather than some blanket diagnosis where if it's not, like Dr. Jason said, if it's not working in 3 months, we're just going to give you something new. So back to you, Stephanie. You got into this world to help these people. You said that you would set up clinics for free in India, in America, just to help people with these schizophrenic conditions.
Yeah, but that doesn't work. I tried. I had a box on the wall for my first practice.
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah, that didn't work out so great.
But here we are again.
What do you mean?
Well, here we are with this idea of how do we help those groups of people now with the new models that you guys are both using?
What I think that James is saying is, hey, Stephanie, what are some things that people that might be disenfranchised one way or another, economically, connections, even there are a lot of places where people don't have access to people like you.
Yeah.
So for our listeners that are right now, what are some things that they can do to take action to actually make a difference? How can we on this show help our listeners and the people that they love and want to help? What are some things they can do to help their brain health out?
Yeah, with themselves to get better
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah.
Because here's the reality. I'm not supposed to say these things, but I've removed all the symptomology and diagnoses on many, dozens and dozens and dozens of schizophrenics, bipolar, borderline personality, autism, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease. I mean, those are the easiest things in the world. I don't understand what gastroenterologists are doing. I literally just go, are they the dumbest people ever? Because this will take 4 to 6 weeks. This is not hard. Autism takes a little bit longer. Schizophrenia takes a little bit longer. However, let me be clear. And I don't know anybody who ever has trained me, and I've been trained by some of the best in the world. We can't go into the underpass of Atlanta and find 10 homeless schizophrenics and get them better. You do have to have the human system needs some things first.
Mm-hmm.
We need safety. We need shelter. We need food. We need, protection from the elements. And we do need community and we need support. Love is a nutrient that cannot be forgotten. So, and belonging, right? And so we're not that good yet. So you need that first. So I think the first step for people, James, I'm not as naive anymore. I don't think I can just move C1 and C2 on people and give them an enlightened moment. I don't think we're in that world anymore where BJ and lived. Like, this is different. The electromagnetic radiation alone is literally ripping people's mitochondria apart. They can't run electrons through the electron transport chain anymore. There's glyphosate has embedded itself into the glycine channels all over everyone's collagen. That is not an adjustment issue. That is a massive biomechanical toxin or a massive electromagnetic toxin that is literally shaking and ripping apart the electron transport chain and displacing the proteins. So the ATP synthase doesn't work. So now cells can't make ATP and they can't also make deuterium depleted water. So they're dehydrated. So they can no longer hold voltage or a charge. What the hell am I going to do about moving C1 and C2 if I don't even have charge inside the brain or the circuitry anymore because I don't have enough functional clear deuterium depleted water and I don't have enough photons of light because the 5G, it keeps pushing off the electrons and toppling over the motor that spins the hydrogen electrons through it. Like, it's a bigger issue now. So as much as I wish I was in the FSCO as a student, I was a straight chiropractor. I had nothing plugged in anywhere, my hands only. That doesn't work to recover a schizophrenic. Sorry, if somebody could teach me that adjustment, I will pay you any amount of money. But coupled with me going in and dealing with the biomechanical problems, with the electromagnetic dysregulation, and making sure all the nutrition is there. Sound is a nutrient, light is a nutrient, electricity is a nutrient, magnetism is a nutrient, hugs, love, affection, being listened to, being heard is a nutrient. Community is a nutrient. It is required, or we die very slow, awful, painful deaths. So I say all that to say that is what I'm looking at. Like, do I think just moving C1 and C2 on a bunch of medical doctors are traumatized? Medical school is set up as a military trauma-based program on purpose to break them, to enslave them, and keep them locked in. Grad school for us was nothing like that. We were not expected to not sleep. We were expected to schedule in going to the gym 3 hours in the middle of your day because they told us we needed to work out and keep our body in shape. We were told to sleep well. We were not on call. They didn't put us on 48, 72 hour shifts to never sleep. Like, it's a completely different system. We had a vitalistic, loving program. That's how it was when I went to school. And we were taught about nutrition, and we were taught about spirituality, and we were taught about meditation. And we had people like Tony Robbins coming in to give us lectures and to support our emotional and psychological way of being. We were told, throw out your TV, read these books, go walk in. We had water and river on campus. I could walk through nature trails in between classes. That is a very different way to nurture a person as they're getting their doctorate degree than the trauma. I'm friends with many physicians, and they are an incredibly traumatized group. It was done on purpose, so they never have time to stop and think and question anything. I feel bad for them. And the ones that have clawed their way out of that hell and have gone functional, they deserve the respect and credit that we give them because they lost many friends and a lot of respect to come over here to the dark side with us.
And some of them become our surgeon generals.
I'm probably not on board with all of that the way you guys are.
Right. Well, I'm following the story, for sure. I think it's an unfolding story, and I think that we all have big hopes, and we'll just see what happens, I think, more than anything.
He's in with Silicon Valley. Y'all better be careful and be ready.
Like I said, I'm just watching it unfold, and I try to look at what they were saying is going to happen and what is happening, and sometimes it doesn't match up. So I'm the eternal optimist, though. We got psychoanalyzed last week by Mandy Keene on the show, and Rachel and I, our executive producer Rachel, are the eternal optimists. So we just are able to see that silver lining. Jim's the realist, so he keeps us grounded. But hey, I have a question, or I have a statement and then a question. Gastroenterologists just don't get it. Everything that you're saying just echoes with me as well. So I was speaking on a stage. I think I was opening for Terry Walls, and so she was speaking right after me. There was a big crowd there, and I don't know exactly what I talked about, but something about the relationship with the gut and the rest of the health of the body, right? And I finished my thing and went back to my little area where people come and meet and greet, and we've all done that. And one of the first people that came up was a gastroenterologist, and she said, I don't know where you think you can get off telling people this, but you're dangerous. I'm going to report you to the medical society. You should not be lecturing, teaching, seeing anybody. You're like the most horrible human being I've ever met in my life. I can't believe that you're allowed in public. I mean, maybe she didn't exactly say that, but honestly, it's not actually too far removed, as a paraphrase. I'm thrown off a little bit, but, I'm also used to catching flack like that. And my wife is there, and we're just like, okay, and other people are in line. Not 4 people later, another guy shows up. Right. And he's like, hey, I'm a gastroenterologist here, at the hospital. I'm like, oh, come on. Like, how many of you are in the audience? Yeah. And he says, man, what you said opened my eyes so much that I think that you should come and speak to our gastroenterology group at the hospital. He's like, this is like mind blowing. We should all know this stuff. Yeah. And I said, oh, are you with Dr. Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh yeah, she's part of my group. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. So at any rate, I just want you to know that in the same day, same group of people, I was, completely turned in for being a quack, and also, held up on a pedestal for, being the smartest guy in the room. So always fun with our colleagues. What I did want to jump in here though, and I think this is a really important thing. we talked a lot about listening, and listening to our body. I remember when I was going, I didn't have the luxury of going to Life, but we had Palmer, in the middle of downtown Davenport, which is a rough area for everybody.
I've been there, yeah.
It was not the same as what you explained.
No.
We made the best of it, and we were given time to work out and stuff like that. But nonetheless, you mentioned that, or when I was there, Dr. Vern Hagen told me, doctors, if you'll listen, your patients will tell you what's wrong. And I think it seems so self-evident at the time when I heard that. Of course, we're going to listen. Patients are coming to us. How would, whatever. But as, now 25 years later, and, here we are, I'm like, yeah, doctors don't listen to what their patients say at all. Like it's already predetermined before they walk in the door for the most part. That all said, what should people be listening for? What are the main signs with the brain talking with you and saying, hey, I mean, we talked about mental health and we talked about, various diagnoses that we can strip away, whether it be BPD or, schizophrenia or bipolar or whatever it happens to be. Before those diagnoses, because I think we all agree those are in-state diagnoses, right? What are some of the early, I don't want to be focused on symptoms, but like the language or how is the brain talking to us? I'm trying not to use the word symptoms, but what should people be on the lookout for? I mean, how is our brain talking to us?
Well, early is gut problems.
Yeah.
So constipation, huge red flag. Bloating, huge red flag. Another huge big thing is just obesity. Okay. Being overweight is inflammatory tissue. So fat cells, adipose cells, it's an endocrine organ. So anytime we know one of the hallmark signs of an organ not doing well is it gets bigger in size. Like you don't want your heart getting bigger. You don't want your liver getting bigger. You don't want your kidneys getting bigger. When they start to fail, they get bigger. Now, fat cells are very unique because when they start to get damaged and fail, they get bigger, then they're leaking, these very pro-inflammatory molecules, cytokines, and a whole bunch of other things, other hormones that, are doing the best. It's doing the best it can. And you can get that way mostly because it's also sequestering poison and fat, in the fat for you. So it's trying to hold the parasites, hold the mercury, hold the lead. It has to protect the brain and the heart over everything. So that's what it's trying to do. So one, obesity is a massive problem. Visceral fat, excess visceral fat, massive problem. That is going to always lead to, leaky gut will lead to a leaky blood-brain barrier. A leaky liver is leaky gut, leaky liver, leaky blood-brain barrier. They're all going together. Fatty liver is always going to be stomach dysfunction, pancreatic dysfunction, digestive bile dysfunction. You're always going to have gastrointestinal dysfunction because the bile can't clean. You might get SIBO, things like that. So all of those are a massive issue. And I have to deal with inflammation. The vast majority of brain dysfunction is from too much, the brain is on fire. And when we have all these other concomitant issues, you're draining the nutrients. The brain needs zinc, copper, DHA, some B vitamins, choline, extraordinarily strongly. And I want to be very clear. You cannot be mentally sound on a vegan diet. You cannot be mentally your best being a vegetarian. We are animals. This is an animal organ. To turn this into the cholesterol, saturated fat, 70% beast that it is, that needs to conduct electricity, electromagnetic, sound pulsations through the ventricles, requires an inordinate amount of minerals, cholesterol, B vitamins, DHA, all of the zinc. They only are bioavailable and essential through the diet. You have to have enough fatty acids, and you have to have enough minerals, and you have to have enough protein to make this. It can't do it from kale. It cannot do it from broccoli. It cannot do it. So I take pretty much 90% of all my clients carnivore now. I've been doing that for 10 years. In Russia, the primary schizophrenic treatment is a carnivore diet and has been for decades upon decades. GAPS diet, we don't even waste our time with anymore. But pretty much she's gone almost all carnivore. I was a Walls Protocol certified practitioner. I don't waste my time with all my MS patients. I take them all carnivore. Everything, all the outcomes are extraordinarily better for so many reasons, ranging from deuterium depletion to just bioavailable nutrition. I find the most significant deficiency in mental health issues is zinc. And nobody tests for it except the orthomolecular psychiatrists like me. And it's disgusting. Like run a $49 test, give people about $50 worth of zinc, and in 3 months, test them again, and the whole problem is gone.
It's interesting too. I think orthomolecular psychiatry is just like such, where it's at for sure. And
that's all I'm trained in.
I think that's beautiful. And I just want to go back to, looking at the gut. I mean, I don't know if everybody's heard this, but I know that we've all heard this on this call, but Hippocrates, just to remind everybody, ancient Greece, father of medicine, not modern medicine, but father of medicine. He is quoted as saying often, look first to the gut, look first to the gut for the signs of disease or something along those lines. I always mess up my quotes, but we get the idea, look to the gut first, right? And I think that's what we're hearing. More and more and more is that there is this huge correlation. The other thing that I just want to give a little lip service to is something that you brought up that is, in my opinion, amazingly controversial. And we jumped right over it. And it might not be what I know it's exciting, right? I love it when our guests bring up fun things. So you said, hey, being overweight and obese is going to cause mental health issues, right? So here's the reality, just to kind of give some credence to that. And please, Google search this, whatever you want to do to fact check us. There is a huge correlation between being overweight and obese, not just obese, but overweight and having mental health disorders. And if we think about it, what Dr. Rimka was saying, Stephanie, what you were saying is that we have these neuroinflammatory disorders, right? Body fat is an endocrine tissue. What that means, what Dr. Rimka said, is an endocrine tissue. It's secreting things like inflammatory chemicals, whatever those are. And those inflammatory chemicals can actually cross the blood-brain barrier and cause inflammation in the brain. We now know, like Dr. Rimka was saying, with neuroimaging that we can do, and there's a whole bunch of different things that we can look at. We know the brains of people that are depressed, anxious, bipolar, BPD, schizophrenic, et cetera, they exhibit a neuroinflammatory pattern. I mean, they're inflamed brains. So if we think about what happens, the brain is going to do everything it can, because remember what Dr. Rimka said, the body's always right. The body's not wrong. It's always trying to help and keep you alive and functioning in the best that it can under the circumstances that we've created for it. In this situation, it wants to put out the fire. So it douses the brain with, whatever it can do to put out the fire, but that's going to dampen the brain's function. So now we have brain fog and depression and lethargy and hypersomnia. And it's all because the body's trying to help this neuroinflammatory pathway out. And we're not going to do it. I mean, I can give you all the Prozac, Paxil, Wellbutrin. I don't know what the new drugs are, right? I mean, the drug of the day, right? I mean, it's not going to solve that problem. Sorry, Stephanie, I jumped in, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. The neuro and the relationship guy. What was the controversial part? The controversial part is that to have this discussion,
you cannot be healthy if you're obese. That is the statement.
You can't be healthy if you're obese or
overweight. There's no healthy at any size. Absolutely not.
Absolutely, right? So I get in trouble. I get called a fattest a lot, or an elitist. And guys, everybody that knows me knows that I've battled weight. I have been, upwards of 265. I maybe even higher. I try to maintain 165, 170 as hard as I can, but I work really hard for this body frame. I was not born svelte. I'm a large frame guy. That's just the way it's going to be. But I get called these things because I say it's not that, big is beautiful. I mean, this isn't a beauty judgment. It's nothing to do with anything like that. I'm talking from a purely scientific point of view.
Just health.
Can't be
baseline health.
Yeah, baseline health. We can't be healthy if we're carrying extra weight. And I don't know what the magic number is, but I suspect it's somewhere between 5-10 pounds overweight. We're starting to really crank out inflammation. Sorry, Stephanie, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all that.
And before you jump in, Stephanie, I'm just going to tell you, all disease begins in the gut. That's Hippocrates.
Yeah. And I think there are exceptions. We have trauma exceptions. I've been, I've had too many patients fly through a windshield and hit a telephone pole to tell you it didn't begin in their gut. It began with them. I've had too many military folks blown up at war. Yeah. Post-concussive syndrome and traumatic brain injury is different. Now that ends up leading to gut issues, but I can take Sean Baker, a super fit carnivore. I can give him a traumatic brain injury and his entire personality will change. His problem didn't begin in his gut. So there is this other group that that I work with a lot.
Yes.
Traumatic brain injury, military IED explosions. That's another group where people start to get a little too obsessed with the gut. As far as I'm concerned, like, listen, you guys, sometimes you can't miss the obvious.
Not everybody fits in the same basket.
Right. I'm just saying.
And that's why we have to have proper case management.
They have to understand and here's the truth. We've just made it really complicated. I wish I could be in the mind of a lion sometimes and be like, what is wrong with these people? Why do they have entire libraries full of nutrition books? Why do they not know how to eat? Like, humans are the only animal on this entire, plane of existence that need 47 books and 18 consults and are so confused. It's just so confusing. I just don't know what to eat. Really? Like, we're this smart and this dumb at the same time because no other animal is confused. Like, it's really basic for them to know what to do. Like, and I just tell people, like, listen, I watched that Naked and Afraid show a couple times. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I'm like, ooh, wow. You can learn real quick what humans are supposed to eat by watching Naked and Afraid. You drop anybody naked and afraid into the wilderness, they are not going to last real long on berries and leaves and bark. Mm-hmm. If they don't start killing something quickly, they are going to tap out because they're going to die from starvation very quickly. You cannot survive that way. So under natural circumstances, there have been not a single tribe has been vegetarian ever in all of existence and all of humanity. Has that ever happened? Because nobody would make that choice. When someone's soul is aligned and they're listening to themselves and spirit and they're connected to nature, they know we live in a predator-prey existence. This realm is how it works here. I am sorry. I was a vegan for 12 years. I get it. You don't want to kill stuff. I didn't either. 14 years a vegetarian, 12 as a vegan. So I took myself to the brink of near death because I was so committed to, I don't want to be a killer and I don't want something to die. But eventually I decided, like, this is where we're at. This is how it works here. I don't know who designed it, that you have to rip something apart, kill it so you can transmute that energy into this. But that's the position I'm in. I'm not an elephant. I'm not a cow. I cannot do what they can do. Mm-hmm. I cannot digest that stuff and turn it into something. And actually, they don't digest it at all. The bacteria in their gut does. So that bugs do it for them. We let bugs do it for us as well. But the most toxic diet, that most brain inflammatory, full of the most pesticides, full of the most chemicals, is a plant-based diet. And that has been the diet that has been suggested by the American Medical Association, the American Dietary Association forever, because it's run by a vegan group, the Seventh-day Adventists, a religious group who controls what the dietary recommendations are by the U.S. government and by the Medical Association. So it has gotten us very, very sickly. You cannot be healthy at any weight. If it's underweight, there are entire anorexic and binge groups that are encouraging people to be anorexic and binge and purge. It's a severe mental health problem. They're all over social media. Like, it's awful. So when I look at a girl who's, 5'6" and is 67 pounds, I'm horrified. If I look at a girl who's 5'6" and is 350 pounds, I'm horrified. They both have eating disorders. They both are unhealthy. And so they both need to be treated with compassion. The difference is people shame and mock the obese person, and they don't really do that for the person with anorexia. And so we do live in a place where I get where there's the pushback, where they feel they need to defend themselves because they've taken too much abuse and there's no compassion. And I'm at a point, I'm sick of it. And I'm sick of watching doctors do it, actually.
Well, I think also, I'm joking when I say this, I have a weird sense of humor. And sometimes my wife is like, you need to let people know that you're going to try to be funny right now. And then remember that you're not a comedian. So this is one of those moments. I was going to say, speaking as a privileged male, that's my joke, right? I know that men are affected by this as well. But really, I mean, you use, the underweight and overweight female. I think that societally, I mean, like I said, there's pressure on men too, but man, societally on women, I mean, it's just awful. I mean, we have two beautiful, healthy, amazing, unvaccinated children that are 24 and 20 years old and have never had a problem. And they're, like I said, they're healthy as all get up and beautiful. And they worry about their weight. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, you're two of the most healthy. I mean, nobody would look at them either way, right? Yeah. So I'm saying even in society with the pressure on that, that's got to lead to trauma. I mean, we talk about traumas, toxins, and thoughts, right? I mean, we have physical trauma that we've talked about, TBIs. My niece Jennifer was in a horrible motorcycle accident and had a TBI and is recovering well, but I mean, it's like 20 years recovery, and then we have the toxins, right? We have the chemical toxins that we were talking about, just inundating us, whether it be, the glyphosates or the 5G or whatever it happens to be. But then we get these emotionals, right? And the emotionals, like you said, on social, it's just hit and hit and hit all day, every day, no matter where you turn around, whether it's social media, magazines, television. I mean, whatever it is, it's like, hey, women, you need to fit into this exact mold. And if you don't, you're ugly and worth nothing. It's the
weird.
weirdest.
Off the deep end. It's not crazy. Even real anymore. It is psychological warfare. Yeah. I was a model. I was a runway and print model. I modeled for Girbeau, Calvin Klein, Breck, Noxzema. I did a commercial for but back then there was no Photoshop. That is not what was done to the pictures. Was there maybe some lighting softness? Yeah, but nobody was coming in. Calvin Klein, you could be a size 8 on the runway. That is not skinny. I'm 5'11". I'm a size 2 to 4 right now. Okay. And I'm 52 years old. I have a figure. I'm not skin and bones.
Right.
Size 8 is not hard for a model, just so you know. Okay, because we're all 5'11".
Well, and it's interesting too, because Rachel,
that's not how it is today.
Rachel says the same thing. She did some modeling as well. And I can't remember I won't name the agency. I do remember, but she, was being picked, and they were like, we want to represent you. We can do XYZ. And I don't remember what her weight was at the time, but she's about 5'11". As well. And she's a small framed person, but whatever she weighed, which was healthy at the time, they were like, you need to lose 20 pounds. It was an amazing.
I was never told to lose weight.
Yeah. She was flat out told I don't know if it was 20 pounds or 5 pounds or 10 pounds, but whatever it was, she was already at the bare minimum where she was. So she was told that.
She might have done it more recent. Again,
I mean, this was probably a little bit, times change for sure, but it's just interesting. The whole,
now they Photoshop it. None of it is real.
None of it's real.
These girls are looking at stuff, and there's all these filters. I mean, they literally come in and make the waist, and it's just completely fake. Okay, I'm just why do you even bother hiring women if you're just going to mutilate them visually? Right. And I'm so proud of a few models and a few actresses have come out very strong and said, you cannot manipulate my image like this. They've gotten pissed off about it, and it's in their contracts. Stop making it look like this. Don't take away my butt and my thighs, or don't take away, because we've gone to the point. It's what? You can't do it with makeup and lighting. Enough already.
Well, that's impossible.
It's not a real standard these little girls are seeing. It's literally looking at these little fake Barbie dolls that are anatomically impossible to actually look that way. So if you're comparing yourself to that, well, you're going to think but none of those people are real. None of that is actually how it looks.
Well, then the undermining of the self-esteem and the psychology behind it. Like I said, as a father of two strong women,
done intentionally.
Yeah, as a father of two strong women, young women, I think they're strong, independent, smart, beautiful, strong, healthy people, and they still feel it. And I'm like,
you can't combat a team of billionaires that are intentionally crafting this imagery and sensory and motion. It goes into your unconscious. You can program and brainwash anybody to think anything you want. It's not hard. Sure. Listen, I do neurofeedback. I'm board certified in neurofeedback. If I can hook somebody up to my machine in an office and drive their brainwave state into wherever I want it to go, drop them into a hypnagogic state deeper than hypnosis, and let them unwind things in their unconscious, I can also implant stuff. You don't think they've got, and that's allowed to be done. I charge people for it. They pay me money. You don't think these people have figured out how to do it without your consent across the open airwaves? Of course they have.
Absolutely.
Of course they have. If they're letting you see what we can do in public with it, what do you think they know how to do behind the scenes? They don't stand a chance.
I'm going to bring this back.
Turn off your TV. I don't want any of that. Don't watch any news, any media. You're being programmed and brainwashed the whole time. It takes a very strong mind to resist that.
So, Stephanie, we're quite the same with our stronghold for what we'll allow in our lives and what we won't allow in our lives. I haven't had a TV for 13 years. Yeah. The only time I ever try to look at one of those box gods is if I'm actually catching a baseball game, which I'm kind of borderline addicted to. But it's one of my guilty pleasures in this world. I'm a Chicago Cubs fan. I love baseball. And that's not the point I'm going here. I'm just trying to make a common bond with our listeners and bring it back to like, we're all more alike than we're different. And just because I have two brilliant doctors on here with me today doesn't mean that we can't talk in their language too, to let them know, look, if you eat real food and you let good thoughts into your body and your mind, and that has a downstream effect on your psychological status. And if you just eat real food, you drink clear, unadulterated water, and I'm going to add in a few more things, get your spine checked by a chiropractor for subluxation. And I know I'm speaking inside of my frameworks, but these are frameworks I want everybody to have imprinted into their subconscious also when they listen to our show, because I want them to be curious. And I want them to be curious about the stuff you guys are talking about too, because that's way over my pay grade. Like, I'm not a doctor. And what you guys are talking about, I'm like, boy, I need to take notes. So anybody that's listening to this show, please go back and take notes and reach out to us. Like, we are the most accessible producers and podcasters, and the guests that we have want to interact with you. So bringing this back to like a baseline reality, we know that you guys that are listening are sick. We know that you're depressed. We know that you're dealing with the thoughts, traumas, and toxins that we can help you address. I know that because me being just a regular guy without any doctorate like level education, I love the chiropractic world and the functional medicine world because they actually look at the solutions of what's going on inside of you. And it's not about them fixing you, or like you said, Dr. Rimka earlier, the cure. The most beautiful thing is just become intentional about your decision making and make good decisions for yourself, to where you don't get stuck in this downward spiral of an eating disorder, or you don't get stuck in this downward spiral of I'm going to go date 30 doctors in the next 5 years to find out what my problems are, and nobody's going to have a solution for me. So when we talk to you on these podcasts, we want to offer outcome solution of connection. And I think that that's really why people that do podcasts like this, Dr. Rimka and Dr. Jason, they miss their mark, because they produce it for them damn selves. And they don't do this content creation for the end user, which is our audience. That's going to be the number one passionate driver of this movement of Get Better Faster, because they're going to all tell their friends, you have to go find Dr. Rimka. You have to go listen to this lady's message, because she's just like you, but she's hella smart and she can help you. And you got to listen to Dr. Jason, because he's just like you, but he's hella smart and he can help you. And you got to listen to the next guest and the next guest and the next guest, because all we're going to do is create this new constellation in the sky of influencers that are all going to put this piece of the puzzle together for these people that are desperate for the need of content creators to tell the truth. And that's where I believe that we're all in alignment here on today's show, because you guys have done something extraordinary. You guys have something that says Dr. Jason Bradley, Dr. Dr. Stephanie Rimka. You guys are doctors, and people will pay good money to come see you guys and to get your guys' quality of assistance with whatever they're dealing with. So I love the fact that I didn't understand 50% of what you guys are talking about today.
Really?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Can I make it simple then? Can I say that?
Sure.
Because I really do. I think because I was Jason and I'm like, and I'm maybe getting excited. So Get Better Faster. That is the name, right? Now,
yes.
So my advice ultimately is always coming down to understand, I actually don't want any of you to have to see me. I wish everything I do for free, the stuff I talk about on Instagram or YouTube, people have taken, and I've gotten thousands of these types of messages. They've taken stuff I've just done for free and they've listened to it and implemented it. The difference is they implemented it into their lives. They took action. And you just need to start with 1%. You just got to move the dial a little bit. And if your pace is you need to implement something once a week, fine. or if it's I can only do one thing a month, whatever the pace is that you can handle that doesn't feel overwhelming, that's what I'm going to beg you to do. But just to stay consistent on saying, I don't need to overhaul all of it, but what is one thing I can do? And I'll give you a list of the things that I find are the most impactful, give the best return on investment for my patients. So I often have a lot of online courses now because I just got tired. I realized I say the same things all the time, and I could save people a lot of time and money with my hourly rate or coming in the office if they just did, well, why don't you just do this and do that for like 3 months and maybe you don't even need me, right? And then I'm just coming in if they still need a little bit. I only have like 20% work to do with them. Like I'm just fine tuning it at that point, right? So I'll say this, these are the big things. And I'll focus on mental health stuff, whether you're dealing with anxiety, depression, panic attacks, insomnia, ADHD, autism, even like these are brain-based disorders to me, seizures that deal with these mental health symptoms that make people very uncomfortable. So one, I'll caveat that trauma is not the same as stress. Trauma is a biological disorder that is it's a mitochondrial disorder. It is a lack of resources, a break in the system, and a deficit of energy. The most important thing with someone with trauma is not to ask them actually to do very much. We have to pour into them to give them enough energy that they can start making charge again. And the most important thing I'm always addressing is the mitochondria, with these little bacteria that we have a symbiotic relationship that have the highest concentration inside your brain, second in the heart. So if I don't get those functioning well, in a losing battle. Okay. Now, stress and acute stress, high stress, panic, anxiety, and panic, that's a high energy. So these people have excess energy to discharge in the neurology and the autonomic nervous system. That is not the same as trauma, which is dissociation, which is a depletion of resources. So you have to know when you have to add nutrition into the system or when you have to discharge energy. So these people, telling them to exercise and move is in their best interest. Trauma, asking them to exercise is cruel. So you have to understand where you are. So if you're in a depression, that's heaviness, that's fatigue, that's, maybe insomnia and pain around this, or you sleep all the time. Please understand, joining a gym is not what's going to start. We have to start pouring into that person. I need nutrition. This is where probably supplements are really going to be important, where sunshine. I need to put this might be where red light panels are brought in. I have to pour into them and get the trauma worked out. That's very different than somebody in chronic stress or in acute panic. That's an excess of energy. So I do this great video. Maybe I'll send it to you guys and you can send it to your listeners on the biology of trauma. And I teach about this. And it's, right. If you don't understand this as a clinician, you're asking your patients to do the wrong things at the wrong time. But either group, no matter what, needs good nutrition. You need bioavailable zinc, magnesium, DHA, and the highest bioavailable foods that the body can easily digest and assimilate and get into the system, into the brain, are animal-based. Red meat, oysters, highly nutritious, and salmon roe. And eggs. I'm going to tell you right now, these are the most potent brain foods that you can possibly eat to restore brain function. The second thing you can do is go outside in nature. One, morning sunrise sunlight on bare skin, bare naked eyes, no contacts, no glasses. You must tie in all the circadian clocks. You have clocks in every cell of your body, but the eye, the retina, is actual brain tissue. It is neurological. It is an extension of your brain. And when those morning sunlight rays in the first 90 minutes of sunrise is the most critical, important nutrient light you're ever going to experience, you will make dopamine right in your eye. You will make serotonin right in your eye, and you will make melatonin right in your eye. This is what's going to start regulating all of your neurotransmitters to help you feel better. That is critical. Plus, everybody dealing with depression has sleep cycle problems. There's in fibromyalgia, sleep problems, chronic fatigue, sleep problems. We must start to sync your system so it knows what time of day it is. Every organ has a clock. It has a time it's acutely working. And if it doesn't know what time of day it is, it is screwed, basically. Please start doing that. Then, as much as you can sit in the grass or by a tree, let your feet and hands touch the soil, the grass, a tree, whatever. The back up against a tree actually brings in safety because you know no one can come up from behind you. Let yourself sit there and bathe in the sound. Birds, when they sing, are only singing when the environment is safe. And birds will resonate with your brain frequency, and they start to sing to calm you down. People don't understand. The birds aren't put here to just be sound pretty. They literally sing songs to your brain and your soul and drop you into an alpha brainwave state. Your entire nervous system shifts when it listens to the birds outside because it knows, oh, we're safe. Nothing's coming to kill me because the birds are singing. That's how it works.
That's deep.
We are not leveraging the power of the sun and the wind and the birds. And it's right there free. It's at your fingertips. But they've made you a slave to debt, to work, to Pinterest, to stupid cooking all the time. You don't need a recipe. Put a steak on a grill, make a hamburger patty, fry an egg, and you're done. Stop thinking about, don't buy one more cookbook. Don't buy one more nutrition book. Don't food combine. Don't do anything. You need to eat. And the second, when it comes to eating, eat more protein, eat more animal protein, eat at least 30 grams of meat 3 times a day. Like 100 grams of protein, a minimum a day for somebody is barely surviving. And I'll find women who say, I eat 2 eggs in the morning. Then I have a 4-ounce chicken breast. And then I had, a salmon, 4 ounces of salmon. I'm like, okay, so that's 12 grams in the morning and about maybe 25, 30 grams at lunch. And you had maybe 30 grams at dinner. You're starving. I would be starving too. And I'm going to tell you one of my favorite numbers, my lab numbers, is plasma zinc. Test your plasma zinc. I want it to be, the optimal is between 90 and 135. I shoot for 125. I have taken away more ADHD and anxiety symptoms getting that zinc to 125 than you can imagine. Wow. Also infertility. Men need 9 times the amount of zinc to make sperm than women do. And you can't get somebody pregnant if your zinc level's too low. The second number I love more than anything is total cholesterol. I want it over 220 for everybody in my office. And that's what we're shooting for. And I do that by fixing their liver. Castor oil packs. Everybody should be castor oil packing their liver every single day. It will change your life. So that's where I'm going to at least leave it with that. Eat more protein, fatty red meat, oysters, salmon roe if you can handle it. It's the best DHA out there because it's a phospholipid form. I know I'm talking science, but it goes right across your blood-brain barrier and it has 0 mercury.
It's made from the fat that our cells and brain are made from. So that's why it works so well. It's the same fat.
You must have DHA to function and you cannot make it. And I'm 100% anti-fish oil and omega-3 supplementation because they're almost all rancid and oxidized. I want it from the eggs, from the salmon. It is completely not rancid and there's no microplastics and there's no heavy metals in it whatsoever. And it's an egg. Please understand, an egg is designed to create an entire life form. An egg contains I made a baby out of one. Okay. The magic is in the eggs. It has everything something needs to make a whole damn being. They're so nutrient rich. It's insane. Quail eggs, duck eggs, chicken eggs, fish eggs, turtle eggs. Eat the eggs. All right. I think I'll leave it with that as some of my basic
I love it.
starting points that anybody can start to do. Oh, and I would say flood yourself with enjoyable, good messaging. Yes. Turn off the news, for God's sakes. The fear porn must stop. Don't watch a show called Lucifer. Why? I'm like, there's a show called Lucifer? Are you asking me to sell my soul? I don't understand right now what's happening. Watch
I just want to
happy things. Go watch reruns of Little House on the Prairie if you want to watch TV. Like watch something that feels good.
I fully agree with you. And I think that, turning off those screens, I was keeping notes here, but turning off I said, shut off the screens and practice presence, is what I took home from that for sure.
Well, and then the next thing I would say is, is seek pleasure.
Absolutely.
Laughter, community, music. If you love, listen, I love a lot of rap ghetto music, and I know it's like not at the right hertz, and I know it's saying some words, but it makes me feel good, and I dance and I sing. So you must start a little bit of movement, that physical movement, because the stress and trauma is stored in the fascia. So a free way is to just walk. So also walking outside is not the same as walking on a treadmill, because what happens when you must walk across the space and the land, your eyes have to do a lateral movement. They're constantly checking, and it doesn't feel like it. But what you're basically doing is like a little form of EMDR. It activates the vagus nerve and activates parasympathetic calm. Plus it's lymphatic, and you're draining toxins, you're moving things. So it brings down brain inflammation in multiple ways while activating the vagus nerve and parasympathetic. Because of the motion you must do, you don't have to do the same thing in a treadmill or in an office. So you need to be in a big space, and your system has to learn how to ground itself with that. And it brings up just enough yin and yang to keep the system balanced. Basically, enough masculine and feminine energy to where you can be grounded and alert and calm, which is what parasympathetic aliveness truly is. To be in a rest, digest, repair state, that's where we're really alive. That's where we're meant to live. But it's become such an unnatural state, we don't even understand what that is anymore.
It's so true. And, I think that you've touched on so much here. I want to go back just 2 seconds. You mentioned something that I don't think any of us caught, and we're going to have to go back and rewatch it ourselves. You mentioned you had a video that was the biology. I wanted to reconnect with them. Yeah, biology of trauma. Yeah, thank you. I think that our listeners would love to have a copy or access to that. So thank you for sharing that with us. I'm going to trade you. I have a shameless self-promotion here. I'm actually working on the 482nd diet book that's going to be out there right now. I'm teasing.
480.
I'm teasing.
What?
It's called Carnivore Conscious. I'm not funny.
I got you. I thought it was saying 480 seconds. I'm like, you got a diet that's 480
wouldn't that
seconds?
be great? Like, right? Yeah. No, it's another diet book, but it's called Carnivore Consciousness. And really what I've been doing is exploring my background in evolutionary biology, anthropology, and, certainly, health sciences, et cetera, and looking at it from that tribal point of view and looking at the science behind it. And it became what started as me, Dumbo here, just wanted to try out carnivore. And one layer after another, I mean, everything got better with my life. I mean,
the science is irrefutable.
The experience and the science.
It is the proper human diet, hands down. There's no question.
Yeah. And my wife, same thing, but, brilliant. She's like genius, genius. But she was having brain fog, and she jumped on it with me, and she's like, my brain fog's gone. I feel great. And she's like back to like her, like better than her old self. I was gonna say back to her old self, but like better than her old self. And I'm going to get you an advanced copy of my book when it's written. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, because I think we're singing the same tune here. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And in the future, Dr. Rimka, I would love to do some future collaborations with you. And I think that a webinar on children's mental health might be something in the down the pipeline for us as a Get Better Faster community. And I haven't spoken to our team yet, but I believe in the future we will have a Get Better Faster gathering. Well, we'll invite the guests to be a part of that, and maybe open it up to the public, to where the people that are impassioned, that love our show, will have access to actually having a community, as you're saying. And that's a big part of this. Is I said we're creating a new constellation in the sky with these providers and these great minds, but really we're creating a community. And it's a Get Better Faster community. And I am like so damn thankful, and I feel so blessed for the messages that you shared with us today and the time that you spent with us today, and just your willingness to share so openly, because we all know on this show today that evil empire is out there, and they're doing all of the nasty stuff in the background. And they're doing it through the TVs. They're doing it through social medias. They're doing it through our food. They're doing it through our water. They're doing it through our skies. And as you said, if we could just adjust C1 and C2 and create chiropractic utopia, perfect. But people are sicker than ever.
Yeah.
And when you guys were talking about body positivity and like this obesity stuff and like this whole thing with like overweight type realities that a lot of people are challenged with, there are solutions. And That's the big thing, is having access to you guys now, you amazing doctors that I have access to now. And I feel like through osmosis, I'm going to become the smartest guy in the world because I get to talk to like the most brilliant minds that exist. So thank you guys for being so damn smart and allowing me to be a part of this interview process today. But I did want to kind of wrap things up with you today, Dr. Rimka, and ask you, like, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to share with our audience today?
Oh man, so much probably. But, I will say, I hope you move forward with that idea with the kids, because the thing that I get the most comments about, or just, I'm stunned how lost people are on this one thing. I go, God, I can't believe I've never made an ADHD course, because it is mind blowing how easy that is to correct and assess. One, is it really that versus something else? Because anxiety looks just like ADHD, especially in children. I've had people with ADHD diagnosis come in with seizure. They were diagnosed ADHD. They came into me and I discovered they had a seizure disorder that wasn't there. It was anxiety. It was auditory processing. It was sensory processing disorder instead. It was a palate, mouth issue, mouth breathing. They couldn't sleep, so they were snoring. That was really the issue. I've had it be dissociative identity, multiple personality. So they were all drugged. Oh, also just Hashimoto's. So these things are the common on a stimulant. That's not even what it is. And it's really easy to tell. There's at least 12 to 13 subtypes of known ADHD. It is real. But it's very easy to identify, differentiate, and correct and reverse for life if you know what you're doing. And it's not rocket science. So I keep saying, oh God, I got to make a course. So I hope you do that. And maybe it'll push me to collaborate and really get it done, because I just have so many things on my plate. I wish I could pour it all out there all the time and run groups and teach everybody, because I'm sickened by watching children be railroaded by their teachers in the schools, because, here in Georgia, they get like $35,000 a year kickback from the federal government for every child diagnosed with ADHD. So they're highly incentivized to get that diagnosis on a child, by the way. So not to discover it's something else and not actually correct it. So there's that. I will say, I think most of the audience is, it's a lot of chiropractors, right? Or maybe it's not, I don't know. I will say, chiropractors are, to me, they should be the absolute doctor of the present and the doctor of the future. And I think we've done a great disservice inside our own profession, fighting amongst each other. We've been taught this left, right, masculine, feminine, straight, mixer, Democrat, liberal nonsense to constantly put people at war with each other. And it's no different inside the chiropractic field. And unfortunately, instead of embracing the differences we have, the different styles we have, we attack and criticize and try to publicly maim each other for being different. I have no problem. I don't take x-rays. I never took x-rays. I don't want to take x-rays. It's not the model and the scope the way I do it. Now, I do some other things that other chiropractors are probably like, I'm the worst mixer, non-purist that ever lived. And why would you do it that way? So, but we all have our way of doing it. And I think they're all beautiful. I love that there are doctors who do like auto claim accident, whatever that's called, and workers' comp. I don't do that stuff.
Yeah,
I've never taken insurance. I don't want to do that, but I rather they see a chiropractor who knows how to file those paperwork and work with the legal battle that they're about to go to. And I just want that chiropractor then to like transition them to another kind that is ready to do maintenance. My mentor, Dr. Barry, he hated maintenance. He just saw the most acute, crazy stuff. Otherwise, he was bored out of his mind. He's like, I don't want to adjust babies. That's boring as hell. Like, just get somebody else to do that. He wanted, people walked in with a knee. Here's my knee in a bag. And he's like, okay, let's try to figure it out. Like, it was crazy what he saw. Bullet wounds. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, listen, he saw the people every chiropractor couldn't handle. That's what he wanted, because that's what his mind needed. And that's what he needed to touch and to talk to. So I just want to say we are a very big, wild group, and we do different things. And for those that love, the functional medicine space, I had to learn the gut and peptides and electromagnetics and PEMF and all this other stuff to help children with autism to speak again. I couldn't get around it Like I wasn't satisfied with, well, that's good enough. I'm just going to adjust. At this point, I'm going to tell you, the interference is not just a structural problem. The interference is coming from so many places. And I'm going to be the one I'm not waiting for some other doctor that I refer to hopefully figure it out, because I was doing that and they weren't getting any care. So if I didn't figure out what to do with Crohn's, who was going to? If I didn't figure out what to do with seizures, who was going to? If I couldn't figure it out, who was I going to work with?
Mm-hmm.
I do have my network of good therapy. You got to find your network of few people. Like I can refer to this and refer to this and this, go to this one for ozone, go do this. But I'm going to leverage all kinds of things because I'm not married to chiropractic philosophy. I am married to helping the person. I'm the servant to the soul in front of me to help them embody themselves best. That's it. And I don't care how I got to get it done. And it is up to me to educate them. I am a doctor. I am a teacher. I educate. I'm their guide. I'm not their guru. They are sovereign beings and can make their own choices. And if that choice includes chemo, I will support them in that. May not be what I want to do, but I'm not going to shame or judge them. And I'm going to work with them how I'm going to work with them in the parameters that I can. Mm-hmm. So I just want to say that as far as I love collaborating with other doctors, but you also have to be really careful. Like you don't have too many cooks in the kitchen. It's an interesting thing to practice and take care of sick people, trying to help them teach themselves to get well. I don't get anybody well except myself. I'm just teaching them the tools of how they can learn to listen and stop hating on themselves. My process of getting somebody better, the last thing I'll leave with, and I work with a lot of women, and the book I just finished and I'm publishing is something I never thought in a million years I would write. And I never thought in a million years was going to be as important as it is, but it is. And I think probably the biggest disconnection I see with people who don't get well and why some people do, it's not which type of adjustment. It's not which type of peptide. It's not which type of therapy. It comes down to they don't feel they deserve to feel good and they don't know how to receive. Mm-hmm. Women in particular really struggle to ask and receive. We have gotten very confused and very masculinized, thinking we're the doer and we're the doer. We are not. I am the sacred feminine. I am designed to receive. And I have to be okay. My job with a lot of people is to teach them women in particular, I have to increase their tolerance for pleasure. They're very tolerant of pain. They know how to be miserable. They've dealt with it for 5, 10, 20, 30 years. Well, can you handle pleasure? Can you handle joy? Right?
That's deep, Stephanie.
That's where I go with my people now.
This sounds like we need to have you back on and explore that. I feel like we just opened up a new topic that now I just want to spend another 5 hours.
That's the final thing. I would say, look at how you can fall in love with yourself. Healing is about loving yourself, not looking and diagnosing what's wrong. There's nothing fucking wrong, except you forgot how magnificent you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Dr. Rimka,
that's my final mic drop, I guess.
I can't wait till the day that I actually get to be in your presence and to give you a big hug. And to give you a big hug and to love on you and to just get to know you better in the personal, intimate space of friendship. And I think that you're such a value. That was the big takeaway that, I was posting about this morning when I posted you at Dr. DeMartini as being our guest today. Is there's so much value that people are going to get if they just pay attention to the work and the labor that Dr. Jason and the team behind Get Better Faster are putting into this production. So we believe that we get the best in the world, and that is you. And I think that that's really cool to have you as a part of our family now. And now people have access to a brilliant mind that doesn't want to fix anybody. You want them to be fixed themselves.
I'm enough to handle for myself.
I get that for sure. Well, listen, that was such an amazing conversation today. I want to just thank you again. I'm so grateful to have you on today. And for our listeners, if this conversation moved you, I want you please to pass it on, like it, share it, subscribe to our show. Let's wake people up and set them free together. Again, huge thank you, Dr. Stephanie Rimka, for sharing her voice and wisdom with us. If you'd like to connect with Dr. Rimka, just click on the link below. And, we just appreciate you all for being part of this movement. And thank you for helping us share the word. Dr. Rimka, thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's another episode of the Get Better Faster podcast. And Dr. Stephanie Rimka, one day we'll be in the same room together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Get Better Faster podcast. Join the movement and visit getbetterfasterpodcast.com to find all our episodes, micro content, and resources to help you and your family get better faster.
I am the same.